I was listening to the story it was a story of a family in Washington, and the little boy called the Bigfoot the Cowboy Man. And he had, apparently it had made an effort to steal this kid. And it hit me. My children were in that playpen behind me with nothing but a mosquito net over them. It could have crept up behind me and taken both of my children, and I wouldn't have known.
Father just got like a Mustang or something from Wyoming, okay? He had it out in the corral because he couldn't put it in the barn in the stalls with the other horses. It would kick and made all the other horses nervous. Had a Seminole Indian working the horse, trying to break it every day. So they had it out in the corral. This skunk ape snuck up behind this horse and grabbed it on its hindquarters. This particular horse kicks out, jumps over the corral, runs into the pasture, to get away. At this point, the rancher's out there just blasted away with the 30-30. Skunk ape runs into the swamp.
I went up there one day after that, or 2 days after that. I went up there and sat in the silence up there, and I'm telling you, man, it was free. It was crazy. There was a crazy vibe up there still. I did what I could to kind of get things under control, but I told her, I said, you need to get off this property. I feel like no matter how strong you are, it's almost like standing in the ocean. You can't stand still without moving your feet. You're going to get knocked over eventually, no matter how strong, whatever. You can't withstand a barrage of weird spiritual energy.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Paranormal Odyssey on this Tuesday evening. I'm your host, Wayne, joined as always by my partner in crime, Miss Tiffany. How's it going, ma'am?
Oh, I am doing all right. How are you?
Doing very, very well. What's going on in Virginia today? I heard it was hotter than you know what.
Heat. And I'm anemic. So if I'm hot, you guys, they just suffer. They're suffering if I'm hot.
Yeah.
So it's 95 degrees. Oh.
95. But the mornings have been pretty all right?
Yeah, the mornings have been chilly. I went out in a long sleeve shirt today, and then I left the house, and then it was like all of a sudden it was 90, and the shirt I was wearing was black, and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna die because it was just hot. It was awful.
All right. I'm excited about tonight's show. Got Mr. Vincent Genna is backstage and ready to go. And let's do all this fun stuff, get it out of the way so that we can get to him. Guys, if you have not done so already, I ask that you please hit that subscribe button. We most certainly would appreciate that.
And if you would like to be a guest on our show and share your encounters, you can email Wayne at paranormalworldproductions.com or me at Tiffany@paranormalworldproductions.com. We would love to have you on and hear your story.
Absolutely. Also want to ask everybody to head over to paranormalworldproductions.com. Check out all of the shows over there, pick you up some merch, show some love to the other shows, Sasquatch Odyssey, this one obviously Paranormal Odyssey, True Crime Odyssey, the Basement Hangout, and the Kentucky X-Files. So we would appreciate y'all heading over there and checking it out.
And we love your questions. And I know this episode, there's going to be questions. So please just put them in all capital letters. It just makes it so much easier for Wayne and I to see them and call them out. And if we miss them, please don't come for us. We will ask them again if you want to just retype it and resend it.
Very good. Very good. Also, I want to ask everybody to check out my group over on Facebook, Manimal Research. All of our regulars know about my group. Do some Sasquatch investigations, and we got the group on Facebook. We would love to have you if you haven't joined, so head over there, Manimal Research. All right. If that seemed a little bit rusty, it's because it was. It's the first time we tried to swap out the duties there on paying the bills and getting everything done, but We'll get that better. I think it went all right.
I tried.
All right, who we got in here tonight?
Let's see. We have right many so far. Naoma, Griff, Grasshopper, Brown Dwarf. Hello to everyone in here. Thank you for coming, Mr. Dr. John Baranchuk's in here.
Yep. Miss Whitney Hubble. How are you doing? That's my new friend, Whitney. How you doing, ma'am?
Hello,
All
Whitney.
right. All right, you ready to bring Vincent on?
Oh my gosh, yes. Since I found out he was going to be on here.
Let's get him on. Vincent, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, not much, Wayne and Tiffany. How are you doing tonight? Good to see you guys.
Doing very well.
So glad to be with us.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting. I love that.
Yeah, you are, almost a neighbor of mine. You're in North Carolina, my neighbor to the east. What was it like in North Carolina? Was it as hot as it was here?
Hotter. Oh, it's definitely hotter. North Carolina is getting like Florida. You know, it's with the storms and the heat, and it's ridiculous. And the humidity is unbelievable. You walk outside, you just go to you could just go to the curb, walk right back, and you're soaking wet. It's like, it's been terrible here. I'm waiting for snow and winter.
How long have you been in North Carolina, Vince?
Oh, gosh, since 1995. So, 28 years already. Yeah, I'm a native Southerner by now, y'all.
Where are you from originally?
See how I threw that in?
Mm-hmm.
It's Southern New York, Long Island. Yes.
Yeah, I don't get that at all. Don't get that at all.
No, I didn't think so. No, I know it's by my the way I dress sometimes is just way New York, but I lost the accent a long time ago. You know what I mean, you guys?
Yeah, we do. Vincent, we're just going to jump in here, but just want to know, you're a medium. I mean, is that safe to say? What title would you give yourself?
I am a psychic therapist and a medium and a spiritual teacher and an author, of course. But psychic therapist and medium.
Now, when did you first realize that you had these abilities? Psychics are, I mean, they absolutely fascinate me, and I'm always interested to hear like how it started. Like, how did you get your start?
Well, that's really interesting that you say that psychics fascinate you, Wayne. We're all psychics, so we really got our start upon creation, all right? Because that's your intuition. So it's just another term, you know, and we use the word psychic. It's a person who pays attention to his or her intuition a lot or develops it more. No, I was not one of those kids that at 5 years old, I discovered that I, was able to read people's minds and tell the future and all stuff like that. I did, however, get involved in adult conversations all the time since I was a little kid. And my uncle named me the little professor. And my mother would whack me in the head all the time. I interjected in an adult conversation and I'd be 5, 6, 7 years old, right? So there must have been some insight then, but I definitely was not intuitive. None of this was part of my life. I became a professional singer, actor, and dancer at a very young age. It was one of my greatest talents back then when I was growing up, and used that as my career. And so that's all I cared about. This was thrust upon me, literally, like a tsunami. Definitely. You want to know how?
Oh. Absolutely.
Keeping you on the edge of your seat. See, that's tension. It's drama. Well, actually, it was an enemy who became my dearest friend after my 10-year high school reunion. See, I became a little famous in my town because one of the acting jobs that I had gotten happened to be in one of the most famous movies ever created, Grease. With Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta, right? So I became an overnight little star in this little town of mine. And so I went to my high school reunion, which was just a couple of years after the release of the movie. And so I was this, it was like a Cinderella story. It's like I got there, and even though early on in my entire school career, all of those kids used to pick on me, I was the bullied one, right? Every single day. And the one kid who antagonized me the most at the reunion just embraced me and sat with me the entire night. So it was just like an apology without him having to say any words. And it was just such a wonderful connection, a reconnection. We all grew up, right? And so he became a really close friend, but his life was in crisis mode, but he wasn't sharing it or telling anybody. But for some reason, I knew that it was in crisis mode. And after spending a weekend with him at his rich, condo in Connecticut, my wife and I were for a weekend. We're driving home, and I'm in tears because I felt my heart breaking for him. And my wife didn't understand why. Why are you so upset about him? He's living in this beautiful condo. He has a great job. He's married. He has 3 kids. I said, no. Something's wrong. And so it was a cry out to God, actually, having been a really good Roman Catholic boy. I was an altar boy and a Catholic, of course, raised. But I never prayed to God during the time that I was being bullied. This was the only time that I actually prayed to God to help me, give me the ability to help him and people like him that are going through the same kind of torment in their lives so that I can help them. I wanted to help them. And within a week's time, it definitely was a Steven Spielberg movie that just happened in my life with all this paranormal stuff and psychics coming in and spirits in my house. And then all of a sudden, I'm becoming psychic myself, and I'm reading people's minds. I'm telling people what's going to happen the next day, the day after, all this information downloading into me. And then I start speaking and channeling a voice of my guide, and all of that within a 3-month period, right after I had asked for the ability to be able to help them. So these are the tools that I was given, or that was awakened within me. Now, in hindsight, chances are I set this up for myself prior to coming in, because it's really rare that your enemy not only becomes your best friend, but becomes the catalyst to the greatest gifts that you can have. And so this is how that happened. And I can see that it had to be some kind of plan of mine, but it developed, even though it was pushing up against, I still wanted to be an actor. I mean, I wanted a Tony, an Oscar, and an Emmy. That's all I cared about in my life at that point. And now all of a sudden I'm psychic, and then I start seeing dead people. And then as I started to accept that, and that started growing, and I jumped into researching it right away. I was guided to study education material. And so I was doing all of that to expand my abilities and to do real well. Because if I'm getting into somebody's mind and their psyche, I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing. So even eventually, I went back to school. In 1991, I didn't have any college degree at all because I wanted to be an actor. Actors didn't need college back in my days. So I gave up a scholarship, a beautiful scholarship, to a very famous college and a school in New York City as well. And so I gave that all up. And so I had to start all over again. And I got my BA in psychology and my master's in clinical social work, so I can combine that with my psychic work. So that's why I call myself a psychic therapist. So if somebody says that I'm psychic and psycho, they're absolutely right. I am. I'm both. So that's how it began for me. And now it's just exploded to the point of communicating with animals. And so I had some work with that to help some animals out, which are very famous stories. And actually, television crew in the UK came over to film it for one of their television shows. And then, of course, the extraterrestrials started to communicate with me. And then that's where I am at right now with all of that. So that's where it began. And it's just progressed all the way until now.
Awesome. You answered what was going to be my next question, which was, are you one of these people with the ability to see the dead, or do you hear or feel them? But you answered that you actually see dead people.
Yes, I see dead people. I hear dead people. I smell dead people. I feel dead people. I'm clairall. just like the advertisement. I'm like this hair dye product. I'm Clairol everything. And yes, the reason why I was able to answer your question is because I'm psychic, Wayne.
There you go.
I knew you were going to ask that. Oh,
He's
my
already
God. Yes. Oh, and by the way, Wayne, just want to let you know you're taking a trip overseas to the UK somewhere, talking more about what you've been working on and Bigfoot and all of that. And so there's some expansion work for you that's going to be going on over in the UK.
Wow.
There has been talks.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, I'm good. Oh,
I mean,
Tiffany, you're next.
I'm dead
Oh,
serious. I
boy.
mean, not much has come of it, but there's.
Oh, no, it's going to come. Don't give it up. Keep it going. Keep the fire going. There's a fire going. There's like a kindling. You got to throw the logs on it. There is interest, and you will be going. So I just want to validate that for you.
Sweet. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. I had another question in line, but you just ruined that. Thanks, Vincent.
No, go ahead. Ask it anyway. It'll give me a laugh.
No, I wanted you to talk about the first time you experienced seeing someone that had already passed on.
Oh, gosh, it's hard to remember the very first time. I've been doing this for 40 years. I know I look like I'm in my 30s. But I'm actually 68 years old. So I've been doing this for quite some time. So trying to remember the first time of anything.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my wife's biggest complaint too. Go fig. It was not intentional. And it was while I was doing a regular psychic reading, and all of a sudden I started to see. Now there's two ways that mediums see spirits, okay, or hear spirits. It's either subjective or objective. Subjective is when we see it with our mind's eye. So in other words, when you close your eyes and you envision something like a banana, an apple, you're using your mind's eye in order to be able to view that. Now, they like in the spiritual realm and the metaphysical realm to call it the third eye, but it's your mind's eye. And it actually is the first eye because it's the way your brain and your mind sees things, okay? And you also have your mind's inner ear. Like when you hear yourself talking to yourself or thinking to yourself, even as I'm speaking to you right now, right? So that would be subjective when you hear a voice or if you see somebody inside your mind. Then the other way of seeing and hearing is outside of you, as if you're talking to somebody who's standing right there in front of you. Those are the times that you see flashes go on the corner of your eyes or shadows moving past you, or you hear somebody say something or call you and you go, wait a minute, did you just call me? I just heard my name. And you hear it externally. So that's objective and subjective. So when I started doing my work as a psychic, and the more I kept doing it, it was during a reading that all of a sudden there was a female that I was subjectively in my mind's eye seeing while I'm doing this reading. And I'm like, okay, who is this person? And then she started talking with me. And it happened to be the mother of my client that I was working with. And being who I am, I brought it up right away. I said, okay, this is not normal for me. This has never happened before, but I want to let you know your mother is here. And then she would give me right away proof that it was her, some evidential mediumship is what I'm really out for, which is like over in the UK. Overseas, in the UK, they've been practicing and doing this work for hundreds of years. And so it is very vital to them to get evidence that this person that you are talking with is real. First of all, it's not just a psychic reading, that spirit is there. And it helps the person that you are making the connection for also realize that and also believe in the continuity of life. So that's the major reason why they do it. And they even have created a religion out of that we practice over here, spiritualists and spiritualism. There are spiritualism churches that will actually do mediumship connections during their service. So that's where it began. As went through one of my first readings many, many years ago. And then it progressed from that point on to the point that I can just do that kind of connection rather than just a psychic reading, and just do mediumship connections and then mediumship demonstrations for groups of people. And then those spirits come in. And what I said earlier about seeing and hearing, yes, you can see a spirit, you can hear a spirit, you can feel their emotions, you can smell, they have an aroma sometimes if they want you to smell, or there's a knowing, all right? There's just a knowing that they put in your mind an idea and a thought. And so those are those different clairs: clairvoyance, clairaudio, clairsentient, all of those clairs. Like I said earlier, I'm clairall. Yeah. And so you can practice that to develop them, but not all mediums can do all of those at the same time. Some are better with viewing, some are better with hearing, some are better with knowing. But especially when I teach these classes, I like to expand on everything, because it really helps to bring that spirit back to life again. When you can feel all of that and sense it, and it just like you do with one-on-one with a person, a living person that's physical here, right? You can touch them, you can hear them, you can sense them, they sometimes have an aroma, you can smell them. And so all of that brings the spirit back alive again. And I practiced that over the years to make sure I could do that. And that's what I teach as well. So so to answer your question in a very long roundabout way, yes, a long time ago was one of my first encounters with a spirit. And then I've continued from that point on.
All right, we got our first audience question for you. Mr. or Dr. John Baranchuk asks, any thoughts or experiences associated with the Montauk Project?
Which project?
Montauk, M-O-N-T-O-K.
Montauk Project. I've got to tell you that can he explain what the Montauk Project? I am not familiar with the Montauk Project. I may have heard about it, but not necessarily known it in that term. So can he explain what that is?
I'm sure John is a very good friend of mine. I'm sure he's typing right now. But I mean, to elaborate, I did want to get you to elaborate when you mentioned being able to know, like someone's talking to you, like someone says something to you in your head. I mean, would that be the same thing as like telecommunications, telepathy? We call it mind speak in the Bigfoot field.
Yeah. It's a telepathic. They communicate telepathically anyway. And because, got to understand, they don't have any voices. They don't have a voice box. So they're actually not speaking. What they're doing is they're using what's in your mind. Every medium, the spirit must use what's in their mind to manipulate the words that they want to share with you, okay? If it's not in your mind, they're not going to be able to put it in there. I actually had a spirit do charades with me because she wanted me to get to say the favorite song of the person who was sitting there, that music that I hadn't listened to or heard, right? And so she was just playing charades to get me to say those words. So she's manipulating in my head the vision of that, as well as any of the actions that she was trying to make. But she couldn't put the song title in because she couldn't speak. And so that is very telepathic, as well as the manipulation of your own mind, your own brain, what's in there, packed in there.
Yeah, because, I mean, mind speak is what it's generally called in the Bigfoot community. And there's a lot of people that claim to have that ability with Sasquatch, that they will talk to them, through their mind. And it's always been a question of mine, when someone experiences this mind speak, is it their own voice? Are you getting a different voice because it's a different person talking to you? But you said that they don't have vocal cords and all this stuff. So it's more of a thought.
Right. So you cannot hear. Now, what's interesting, let's say I get a foreign spirit. They will speak to me in a broken English to let me know that they're foreign. Okay, but it's always going to be my voice, because they don't have, like you said, they don't have vocal cords. They can't change the pitch inside my head. it's my voice that I hear, which is why a lot of people don't necessarily believe, because they only hear their voices. And the first thing they say is, oh, I'm making that up. People get guidance all the time from your own soul, from angels, from deceased loved ones, from spirit, from ascended masters. And because it's always in their voice, they're like, oh, I'm just making that up. They're not talking to me. But I assure you they are, and it should be your own voice. Otherwise, it's not free will anymore. Now you're listening to somebody else like you're listening to your best friend, and you know how that can get you in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of friends, or Dr. John Barentalk just elaborated a little bit. He said government kidnapping of youth leading to breaking them down until they became interdimensional sensitives and interacting with aliens. Montauk, New England.
Not true. None of that is true. I'm actually speaking with aliens myself, and there is a lot of this stuff, nonsensical stuff out there, in attempt to make points, in attempt to make even the government look bad. I mean, look, the government does things on its own without needing any help to look bad, right? But there's all of these conspiracy theories. As a matter of fact, he may have even seen the video that supposedly the government has of having a captured alien, and the video is such a poor quality, but they're supposedly talking with this alien. This alien is having some breathing issues and stuff like that, and they say that this is a real video, and it's all BS. I mean, talk about conspiracies. They want to believe that we never landed on the moon. They want to believe that the world is still flat. They want to believe that the killing at Sandy Hook never took place. They want to believe all these ridiculous things that did happen, but the things that didn't happen, those they easily believe in. And so it's just a manipulation of the human element and just another excuse to be able to frighten people, get them pissed and angry. It's all nonsense, okay? They're not, unless you get on the right level spiritually, you're not going to be communicating with any aliens.
Well, and it's hard. I mean, especially now with AI coming out, you know, everything is CGI or AI. Or, you know, you can't even believe something that you read was actually written by a person and not an AI.
Oh, you can. You see, yeah. Now it's here. I'll give you the trick to that. When you are reading, let's say, a story, a composition, and it's lacking human feeling, if you are not feeling anything while you're reading it, I assure you it was written by AI. Because the one thing computers cannot do is replicate emotions.
Well, see, and this is my point, because author to author, if you have a machine write a book, I've written, 4 now? You cannot integrate that human heart into the words that people are reading off of these pages. There's
absolutely
no feeling.
And you're
no
also
emotion.
integrating your energy into it. You know, and people forget that we're energy beings. It's so funny because my wife is a vice president of her company. It's a media research company. And whenever she's hiring, she'll get like 100 resumes, right? And she can't read 100 resumes. So she goes through, then all of a sudden one she stops at. And when I ask her, what makes you stop at that? And she says, I don't know. I just get a feeling about that resume. And the thing is, it's because the person who did that resume, and they usually are a qualified person with great personality, they infuse their own energy into it as a human. And because of the desire, they want it also. They want a job like that. You can always tell a resume of a person who doesn't want the job that they just sent it to, because it's also void of some of that feeling, some of that passion. But when computers start writing it, all you have to do, people, is start using your heart while you're even reading something. And if you're not being affected by what you read, then you know that some computer had to have written it. And we can't get caught up in that or all the other nonsense that goes on.
Yeah, it just turns into pretty words on a piece of paper.
That's all it does.
But
and so you can see that. And I was going to tell you there's another book that you're writing, but it's going to be different than all your others. And see, you just ruined it. I was going to tell you that and see.
Well, dag nabbit, tell me.
Disappointed. No, there's another one that's got to be published. It's going to be published traditionally, and it is different. It's off the topics you've been writing on and something deeper.
Okay, well, so let's see. I left my job in May. I just said, look, I can't do this anymore. This is what I want to do. I want to pursue writing. I want to pursue this career. This is what I've always wanted to do. My husband was like, you need to quit because it's just toxic. So I was writing romance. Okay. I had a romance book. Yeah, I had a romance book come out in April. The sequel to said romance comes out in November. Spoiler.
Oh my goodness. You see, you were off by one. See what happened? The last book you wrote was 49 Shades of Grey. Had you just added one more, you would have been the famous one.
But let me tell you, the day after I quit my job, I was talking to Wayne, and that is when he and I came up with writing the episodes for his podcast. And for his, it was the Unfamiliars. And then a week later, Brian from Sasquatch Odyssey reached out to me, and I started writing episodes for his as well. I am the biggest chicken, Vincent, ever. Okay, so for me to delve into this world of creepy, spooky, holy cow, ghost, anything, it's totally not me. But I fell into this. It was just like in my lap. I've never written cryptid fiction. And I was picked up by Hanger One Publishing from Doug Hatchett on Monster Quest. And I just recently signed a contract with them. So, yeah.
And you are continuing to write about these books that you've been writing for us. So he's right.
There you go. And it's going to be great. And that's the direction you're going in. So keep going.
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I really am.
Good. You said you needed some proof, Wayne. So there you go. So now you know the other things that I wind up saying are also credible, even though there may be doctors, there may be people. And I hope your friend just realizes that there will be so much stuff coming out there intentionally to incite and instill that fear and anger and rebellion, that kind of thing, because that's the type of species we are. If we don't like something, we want other people to not like it with us. So we'll do what we have to make that happen. So yeah, so a story like that, like the Montauk Project, that's horrible, right? And so that would definitely incite a lot of anger and resentment and stuff that the government is. But I haven't had the government call me up, but I have a good friend, a very close friend that is now, I would say that he is definitely noted as the person with the most UFO and alien contact on this planet. And that's Christopher Bledsoe Sr. And they just did, the History Channel just did a whole scientific study on him and have recorded the orbs that he sees and the fact that his brain makes direct connection with those orbs when they appear. And they have that on film. They were not expecting that at all. So it's getting proven the right way, not hysterically, right? And not with some of these stories, but truly the positive way. And so I'll let you know when they contact me if they want to hear what's really going on with the aliens. They need psychics. They don't need children. They need psychics.
So you're in contact with, I mean, do you call them aliens, extraterrestrials? What do you call them?
They don't mind. I mean, the concept of alien wound up becoming really negative when we start referring to illegal aliens here in the United States and stuff like that, because then they think that, we can call them illegal aliens. They're entering our airspace and they don't have a green card. They have a green body maybe, but they don't have a green card, and so they're aliens, but they're extraterrestrials. And actually, it would be a lot easier if we referred to them as our brothers and sisters, because that's who they really are. We were all created at the same time. And when that happened, We needed places to go to experience ourselves and experience who we are and what we knew. And so all different universes were created, all different ones in all different dimensions. And then we had a choice. Where you want to go? Just like today, you want to move to Florida? You want to go to Arizona? You want to go over and live in England? Okay, go ahead, make your move. That's how it was offered. Go where you want to go. But here's the rule. Once you go there, you cannot incarnate any place else, so that way you don't bring your baggage to anyone else's universe. So we all went, we chose our places. You, me, Tiffany, and 8 billion other people decided to choose the Earth. But of course, there weren't that many souls to start with. We helped to create the other souls. There were a limited amount of souls that Source created from the very beginning. We've created the rest only to increase our experiences and know things better. The problem is those other universes advanced quicker than ours. Oh, isn't that a surprise? And so they have more capabilities. Albert Einstein knew this about aliens and extraterrestrials to start with. And he said, and he quoted, and I believe him totally, in order for an extraterrestrial or any of us to leave our universe and travel to another dimension or another universe, we must have command of spiritual principles, which is what quantum physics is studying now, those spiritual principles, the understanding of dematerialization, and that we're not just these physical bodies here, and that we're actually made of more space than we are solid. People don't understand this. The movie The Matrix is not far-fetched because your brain fills in the gap in order to live in a physical world. But if anybody truly ever remembered chemistry, you've got an atom. An atom is made of protons, neutrons, electrons. And usually in an atom, you'll have a proton with several electrons flying around it. What's in between the electrons and the proton? Space. So no matter how much you multiply an atom, 33 billion in your body, that means there's 33 billion times more space than there is the solidarity. But we see solid because that's what the brain fills in for us here. So dimensions, you have to be able to dematerialize, decompose your physicality to get through to the dimension, to get to another dimension, and then do whatever you're going to do there. So all of these beings that are coming to us are, number one, completely benevolent, not malevolent, benevolent. They're only here to help. All the nonsense about reptilians and aliens that are going to suck the brains out of your head are people who have no brains in their heads and they were sucked out very early on in their lives that are saying that stuff. But they're completely benevolent and they're here to help us. And without their help, we wouldn't even have modern man to start with.
So you said reptilians. So what is your opinion on the reptilians? Because now I know.
Crap. It's bull crap. Could you please tell me? Let's think about this. Just think about this. Let's say they're not all good, but they're more advanced because obviously they created a ship that transverses one dimension and comes and visits us here and lickety-split and it just vanish. So now you've got this advanced being, and you're going to tell me this advanced being decided to land on Earth, go down into the water, and fornicate with an alligator. I don't think so.
See, and I heard that too, and I was like, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way.
It's ridiculous. It's a Star Trek movie. Do you remember when James Kirk was on the planet and he had to fight that lizard guy type person. That's where they got the idea of a reptilian, because it looked the exact same way. It's nonsense. Right. It's fear-based. It's all of that crap. There is no such a thing.
Well, I think people need to, you know, separate the wheat and the tares. You know what I mean? I mean, use
well,
your
let me tell you something. Look at people today and what they choose to believe in. You can show them the color red, and through their own agenda and their own filtration system, swear that that's blue. You are not showing me red, you're showing me blue. And they're not colorblind at all, but because they want to believe what they want to believe, and because of angers and fears, you're going to have, everything is going to be filtered. If you don't have the angers and fears, you have more of a chance of seeing reality and even knowing reality, because it's built in already in all of us, Tiffany and Wayne. Right. It's already inside there. All knowing is inside there. We are our own BS meters, but we have to clear the garbage that was spewed inside of us because of our negative environment, because of the messages we received growing up, because of all of that nonsense that's in there. It's going to tangle all the truth up. And that's where you can't figure it out then. But there is a way. Clear the garbage in your own life that is bogging you down, and the knowing comes up right from your intuition. We are each connected. Each of us connected to the same place, the same source. Carl Jung called it the collective unconscious mind, where all beings have the exact same answers. And he created the concept of archetypes through that understanding. And so in other words, you ask an American, what does the word mother mean to you? And they give a definition. You go over to Japan and you ask a Japanese person, what does the word mother mean to you? And they say the exact same thing. And it's without them conversing. So his idea was, well, if they will be saying the same thing, that the mind has to be connected to a place that holds all those truths. And there are truths out there, but there's so much fear, and we've forgotten who we are, that everything is getting confounded with a whole bunch of nonsense. And then this metaphysical world and the paranormal world, that is actually added in some, it's wonderful, and I love being a part of it, but there is so much more stuff and nonsense out there today because of the same people that take something good and find something horrible and evil in it will do the same thing with any subject that they come up with, because that's what they do, because they're filtering it through their own stuff. No reptilians. They're only benevolent, and even the abductions are for our own good. We are creating diseases far faster than the human body can adapt to heal them. This is an incredible machine, an incredible working machine. When you think about the 33 billion cells in it, and it's remarkable that there's only a minority of people in the world with disabilities. The majority of humans are fine, and their bodies are acting exactly the way they're supposed to. They're healing the way they're supposed to. And if you let them, they heal even better and heal anything, these magnificent bodies. But we're creating these diseases in the world that we breathe in, just like what we just had, the coronavirus. Where the hell did that come from? That are affecting us so badly quicker than the body can adapt to it. So what the aliens have been doing is they've been taking the genes, they've been taking that, and they've been working with it and our chromosomes in order to help us to heal and to preserve the human seed. That's all they've been trying to do, is preserve the human seed for us, because this is the body we like, right? And we're not making the choice yet to change it in some way. Sometimes we did with some of the stuff, but we didn't with other stuff. And so we have the ability to evolve and to change from each lifetime to lifetime that we come down here. So they're leaving that to us so that we can experience that ability. But if we're not here, if we don't have the bodies, if our bodies are being eaten alive by all of this stuff, then there's no place for the soul to go again. We'd have to start all over and create something new. So that's why they're trying to help us.
So in reference to that and what you said, like take the Barney and Betty Hill, for example, you've heard that, I'm sure. She was taken up on the ship, so whatever you want to call it. and a needle or something was injected into her abdomen, almost like an amniocentesis. However, this was like way back in the day, and that was not a thing. So would you say that that was a way to kind of get a healing of diseases?
Absolutely.
Well?
They've been actually impregnating women so that they get the human seed, because that's going to be the best way to get the extraction is you get a baby, right? You get part baby, you get part alien, and now you can take the human DNA out, or you make a hybrid mix. I've got that. I'll share something with you. I'm not the only one who started this theory and this understanding. There are very famous anthropologists and sociologists who've been out there studying society and humans and where we come from, right? Really great. Greg Braden is a very well-known anthropologist, and he's done a lot of studies on civilizations and ancient civilizations. And one thing that he had found, that I believe it was the year 2006, scientists came across a frozen Neanderthal baby. It was completely intact.
I heard that, yeah.
Right. And in studying its DNA, it's completely different than modern man DNA.
Yep, I read that.
But what they were able to discover is only a portion of the DNA strand of the Neanderthal was the same as modern man, and then it was a whole new section added on. So the understanding was that DNA of the Neanderthal had to have been spliced. And the interesting thing is, if any of you out there go to 23andMe or Ancestry.com and you have your DNA tested, they separate at the very end modern man from Neanderthal, and they will tell you if you have any part of Neanderthal in you. I happen to have a percentage of Neanderthal in my DNA. And let me tell you something, if you met the Genna side of the family, you would absolutely understand why they were definitely Neanderthal. Oh my God, meatball fights every time the family got together at grandma's house Sunday dinner. Holy cow. And these were the adults, not the kids. Okay, so I'll share that. So the idea being, and here's what's really interesting, those scientists will admit that the DNA strand was spliced, but of course, not one of them will even come out with the idea of who did that. But the understanding is who could have done that. Only a civilization more advanced than us could have done that. And that is exactly what I have been told that our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters did in order to hasten our evolvement. We were taking too long, and we certainly could not be hunched over and walking around like Neanderthals and get to this point. And we're not as old as everybody wants to think, and neither is the Earth. It's not billions and billions and billions of years old. There's actually a documentary, a contemporary documentary on, my wife and I just saw, which they proved. They went and they examined the Grand Canyon, and they proved that all those layers in the Grand Canyon were formed much faster than, and scientifically proved it, much faster than all the years that they were talking about the water, and then the water receding happened much quicker. So we are 11,000 years old about. And we're the modern man that appeared here instantaneously. We just wound up appearing. All of a sudden, now there's modern man. And that's what they're saying, is that our extraterrestrial brothers and sisters spliced that DNA. And that's why they keep coming back now, because they're still continuing. They could have wiped us out. Don't any of these stories that we have, the sci-fi movies, because we love fear and we love scaring everybody, and they still have the aliens looking like spiders. Oh God, give me a break. And
Vincent, have you seen an alien, an extraterrestrial?
Yes, I have. I will see them. I see them very easily psychically. Like if I'm doing a reading for somebody, I can see what that person has seen. Okay, so that's number one. That's one way of me viewing, is through the experience of somebody else when I am doing a psychic reading. The other times is when the alien council, this intergalactic, believe it or not, it's almost like Star Trek. There is an intergalactic council which is made up of a deceased alien from each of the solar systems, including ours, together in one council, helping to kind of direct the rest of us, okay? But they're in spirit. So most of the orbs, when you see an alien's orb, that is not a ship, that is a spirit, okay? But then there's also the physical living, and they're in ships and they have physical bodies when you see the physical body. But if you see the orb, they're a spirit and they're energy forms. And if you see the body, they're physical.
Okay, I'm itching to ask you a question.
Go ahead, you just interrupt,
okay.
Otherwise you have to shut up.
I'm not a rude person, and I just don't, but I'm itching to ask you this. Okay, so we have orb encounters. Okay, so you have Bigfoot that's seen, or Dogman, but then following that, or coming before that, you have the orbs that are seen floating through the forest. Is that what you're saying would be?
Yes, when you see orbs, they could be, orbs will come, they're always spirits. Orbs are always spirits. Now, they can be angelic if they're white. They can be different color if they're extraterrestrial spirits. Us, we're not as evolved. So like when you and I are over there, and if we happen to come back to Earth to visit, we're a weaker. That's when you just see those plain little circles, and they could be ghosts that are orbs that people take pictures of all the time. They seem to be really light and you can see through them, right? Those are more human incarnations of beings that are deceased now. But always the higher evolved a being is, the brighter the orb, okay? And the more white the orb is, okay? Because white is the collective color, right, of everything. All colors are broken down white light. So you can assume then that when you see big white forms, those are your higher entities, the ascended masters, spirit itself, whatever it wants to come down in, it's going to be that white. But then the colored ones and vibration of them are also slightly more evolved. So there's a hierarchy based on what that orb looks like, actually. The more energy, the more movement you will also see. A lot of the alien orbs you'll just see them, all of this energy just floating around it like a ball of fire, and it even can change colors. And it can even morph into what it used to be and what it looked like in a physical form, and you can see it even in the light. My friend, like I said, he's got hundreds and hundreds of pictures of orbs, and then orbs that had faces in them, and that orbs that actually morphed then into the being that it was prior to it dying. Okay. Yes, I can see auras, Naomi. Aura, so that you know what an aura is. Your body lives in your soul. Your soul does not reside in your body. An aura is a reflection of your soul. Depending upon your attitude, your belief systems, and your vibration, you can either have a very expanded aura, or you're allowing your soul to expand, and it be a lighter color and more towards the high vibrational colors like blue, violet, those colors, because those are high vibrational, or lower vibrational like red, orange, yellow, okay? But that is part of your soul and other people's souls that you are actually seeing. That's what that vibration and that light is.
So someone said she had a white aura.
Yeah. You have it. That's good for you, Naomi. That means that you are on the right path. Keep going, expand it. Now, the other part is sometimes people will see those auras very close to the body, like only an inch away. That means you're restricting it. Now, you being white light, allow it to just shine in front of you, man, because you walk into the room, you definitely bring light with you and a positive energy with you. Let that keep shining, okay? So I'm glad that you looked at it.
Yeah,
Vince,
Naoma is.
yeah, we're running out of time here, Vince. I did want to ask you one thing though before we get out of here. Me being a Bigfoot guy, one thing that I have encountered in the 5-6 years I've been doing it is some people swear there's some kind of correlation. They talk about having a UFO encounter at the right before a Bigfoot, or a Bigfoot right before a UFO, or just in tandem. Is there a connection between Sasquatch and UFOs?
No, there's not. And I hate to tell you this, but there's not even a connection between Sasquatch and modern man.
Okay.
Sasquatch is not the missing link. Sasquatch is an entity unto itself that evolved higher than the regular gorilla, but it didn't go any further. Sasquatch is actually the ending of that Neanderthal life at all, totally in that species. It's a complete different species than modern man. And it can have intelligence. It has great intelligence. It does exist, but it's just a higher evolution and a stopping point of one species and then the start of another species. Now, here's what's really interesting. In the Bible, go back to the Cain and Abel story. Nobody pays attention to this. After Cain kills his brother and God starts talking to him and asking, Cain, where's your brother? And Cain says, why am I my brother's keeper? Of course, the unanswered question means yes. God casts Cain out of the Garden of Eden and says, you cannot procreate with your kind anymore. You can only procreate with those of the earth. Who the hell was God referring to? Sasquatches. The Neanderthals, those of the earth. So yes, was there an original hybrid breeding back then between the two of them? But they were two separate species altogether. Yeah. So that species lived here for a long time.
Yeah, Naoma's saying that she's heard that before too. That's really interesting. I hadn't heard that. Vincent, tell everybody where they can find you, and tell them about your books and where they can get all that good stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You go to vincentgenna.com, and that's with a Genna. And I am the author of The Secret That's Holding You Back. Let me tell you something about this book. Oh, wait, you can't really see it that well. There you go. It's on Amazon, and it's 40 years worth of my experience in the fields of psychology, metaphysics, and spirituality. It comes together to make people understand finally why they are not manifesting what they truly are capable of manifesting. It removes the blocks, and it lets you know and teaches you that it's actually the function of the brain that is stopping us and getting in our ways of manifesting as a means of keeping the species surviving. But you can control it now, because we're more than just physical beings, we're spiritual beings as well. So if you go there to my website, you can connect with me, you can link to the book, you can find out all my social media pages. I do connect with people. I have classes all the time if you sign up on my website, and I have wonderful media section with all of these interviews and all the television shows that I've done as well. So that's the best place to connect with me. VincentGenna.com. Thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah, and I believe your assistant, was her name Angela?
Yes, Angela. Yes, Angela from Steve Allen Media is, if anybody wants an interview, that's all they have to do is connect with them.
Yeah, she sent me some links, so I'll be attaching that to the show notes. And Vincent, what I do is I take the audio from all of these shows and I upload them to my podcast, which I have a much larger audience in podcasts.
Oh, wonderful!
Than I do on here, so we'll get it out there to quite a few more people.
I love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey, look, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be able to get these messages out worldwide, right? It's just we need people like yourselves, because otherwise my messages are meaningless.
Right.
Yeah, I agree totally. And I appreciate you taking the time to come and hang out, sir. Thank you.
Had a great time. You guys are great. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening. All right. There we go. How fast did that hour go by?
Like we blinked.
I know it. The good ones usually do. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'm glad he was able to come on and share with us. That was definitely
too.
interesting about the Bigfoot. I'd waited the whole episode to ask that question. I wanted to make it toward the end.
You saved the best for last, man.
That's right. That's right. All right, you got anything before we get out of here, Miss Tiffany?
I don't think so, but you do not want to miss, and I'm so excited about this, and I'm excited about all of them. I don't know why I kid myself. Every show I look forward to. But Finding Unknown will be here Thursday at 2:00 Eastern. And they get into some wild, spooky investigations and paranormal. It's
Luna and Nolan, right?
Luna and Nolan. And if you go to my Instagram, I actually have, they're both tagged in there on my Instagram. So you can go to their pages and follow them as well and keep up with them that way.
Yeah, we'll share all that stuff too, so other people can get to them. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. It's going to be fun. They do they come across some creepy stuff. They got a good channel up there on YouTube.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it on Thursday. So.
Say your good nights, and then I will do the same.
Good night.
Short and sweet. There you go. I like it. All right, everybody, y'all be good to each other. Be good to yourselves. And I will see you Thursday. Bye.